for today. Welcome, everyone, to the February 3rd Muckboots in the Capitol weekly legislative briefing with Friends of Family Farmers. We are going to be discussing what is going on recently in community food systems legislation at the Oregon State Legislature. I, again, am your host, Alice Morrison. I'm the co-executive director of FOF, and I'm in charge of our policy program. And Friends of Family Farmers has been around since 2005, and legislative work and advocacy have always been part of our philosophy of systems change. And I don't think I said this last time, but we also run two technical assistance programs, Oregon Farm Link and Oregon Pasture Network. If you are looking for land or have land to pass on, check out Oregon Farm Link, lots of great resources, and a one-on-one case management program called Navigate for our land seeker friends out there. And if you are raising animals on pasture, please check out the Oregon Pasture Network. It's a community of practice. We do marketing support. We also teach classes on everything from soil health to animal husbandry, and the other sides of FOF also welcome you. Thank you for being here with us today. All right, so today we're going to try to stick to the same agenda every week, where we are going to give you an update on FOF's two priority bills. We are going to talk about the hearings, that happened last week and the hearings happening this week. I got my wires crossed a little on the agenda. And then we'll have our action alerts and things you can do right now, including a little preview of the action alert email that's going to be coming out at 1 p.m. on today, February 3rd, with some links for live testimony. So this week, our updates on our two FOF priorities, the bills that FOF has asked our legislative partners to bring forward. The state meat inspection bill, HB 2164, had its work session this morning. So in each side of the legislature, House and Senate, whichever you're assigned to first, we happen to originate in the House with this bill. We had our hearing on the first week of session on the 22nd of January. We had our work session, which is essentially the committee vote on the bill. And the committee unanimously passed this bill out for a floor vote in the House, and then it will hopefully just move right along to Ways and Means, because it also had its fiscal impact assigned. So the Legislative Budget Office is in charge of evaluating all pieces of legislation to determine their fiscal impact or price tag, so how much it's going to cost. And we got our fiscal impact statement back this week. And for the two positions that we are hoping to fill at ODA, the two FTE rather, it could be spread over multiple positions in order to fulfill geographic and community need, depending on where those positions are needed. They have assigned a fiscal impact of this program for the whole entire 25 to 27 biennium, $274,745, and for the 27 to 29 biennium, $218,405. They're also in this fiscal impact statement has the anticipated federal match that will come down, because these positions do have a 2-to-1 state to federal match associated with them. So the full cost of the full inspector program is not required to be placed on the state. There is federal match for meat inspectors in states that have cooperative agreements like Oregon. So that's very exciting that this is a relatively low fiscal impact. I know it's a lot of money to me and to a lot of the farmers that we work with, but in the terms of government spending, this is actually very reasonable. And so we're happy to see that fiscal seems in line with what we expected, and that it is not necessarily going to be something that'll impede the progress of this bill in this tight budget year that we're facing. Also, I wanted to give everyone an update on our small farm water access campaign. We have been, continuing to work really diligently to make sure that the topic of small scale exempt well commercial use has the opportunity to be discussed in the legislative session. And we have shifted strategies. We are no longer depending solely on the Senate Natural Resources Committee. We have another bill introduced in the House Agriculture Committee. We were in negotiations with the chair of the Senate Natural Resources Committee and water conservation groups, and reached an impasse in discussion where they refused to keep taking meetings with us, essentially. So we've put out the word to all of our partners, and the most important thing is that we want this conversation to continue. And it's really important to us that as we make permanent decisions about the future of our water system, given the water scarce future that we're looking at, well, scarcer than before, we do need to take into account how we are commodifying our water in Oregon and what kind of system we are standing up here in terms of who will have access to water in the future, and whether or not that is only wealthy people who have the ability to purchase existing water rights or purchase property with existing water rights, instead of the ability for community-based food systems, first-generation farmers, land-insecure farmers, and low-income farmers to have access to commercial irrigation water in the future. So we're really looking forward to being able to continue that conversation. We have not seen bill text for that yet. 3372 is another placeholder bill. So if you look it up in OLIS, it will just have the study language. And we have been working with Representative Owens and Rep. Helm, who are the co-chairs of the House Ag Committee, to bring this forward. And we understand that this is not going to be a bill that we got to write ourselves. This is going to be another compromise. And we're really looking forward to analyzing and evaluating the text that's put forward when that becomes public. So we were hoping to have it by the end of last week, but hope to have it this week to show everyone and to give our analysis of. So thank you so much for those who participated in the action alert a couple weeks ago to make sure that folks understood that this is a really important topic that needs to be discussed in the legislature this year. All right, so what happened last week? Last week, we had the full hearing of the Oregon Ag Heritage Program funding in HB 3131, and the hearing for the Spanish language pesticide licensing bill, HB 3010. Both of those, went as planned and did that. The records on those bills have now closed, and when those get scheduled for a work session, we will let everyone know the progress of those two bills that we're tracking. But this week we have some exciting developments. And I wanted to make sure we have plenty of time to talk about hearings this week. So we have two hearings that we are really excited about, and another bill that is not having hearing but has convened a working group that we're going to be a part of that we wanted to tell everyone about. So HB 2979 is a bill of support for us. This is funding for the Food System Resilience Grant Program. So this is the Small Farmer, Rancher, Farmers Market, and Food Hub Climate and Disaster Resilience grants that have been open in the funding was secured in 2023. One full round with disbursement has been done now. The second round of most of these grants is either recently completed for the applications or continues to be open. I believe the Food Hub and Farmers Market grants are open for their second round, and the Farmer Rancher grant actually concluded its application period on Friday. And these have been incredibly popular grant programs, and both application periods we have received, way more applications than we have funding available. And that really demonstrates the need for this support to be renewed. And HB 2979 is a bill that would renew that funding for the next biennium so that we can continue to help our community food systems get their systems and their infrastructure in a place where they can be resilient to extreme weather, extreme heat, extreme cold, wildfires, as well as like other climate related natural disasters that are becoming more and more frequent, so that when, like during the pandemic, we are faced with some breakdowns in that centralized food system across the nation, we're able to not only step up throughout the year, but especially in times of crisis. This community food system is really important. So we're really looking forward to that hearing, which is going to be on Wednesday the 5th. Don't worry, I have a whole slide on how to get involved. We are also going to be monitoring, and we'll be speaking at the hearing for Senate Bill 747. Excuse me. This is a bill that comes to us from our friends at Oregon Rural Action, which is a community group based in Moro and Umatilla counties, because this bill is directly to address groundwater quality issues in groundwater management areas. So groundwater management areas are designated by the Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, and this is a bill to require folks who have more than 200 irrigated acres in production currently, or in the last year rather, to have to report on an annual basis their fertilizer application. So the amount of fertilizer that was applied, the type of fertilizer, and when and on how much acreage it was applied. So this is in order to start to get a better picture about how over application or eutrophication could be happening in our waterways and in our groundwater, because this is a documented cause of nitrate contamination in groundwater management areas. There are currently 3 groundwater management areas in the state. The one that we've been hearing the most about is the Lower Umatilla Basin Groundwater Management Area, or LUBGWAMA. Very catchy. And that groundwater management area is located in Moro and Umatilla counties, kind of near Boardman, Hermiston area. And they have had unsafe groundwater levels of nitrates for a very long time. And it causes long-term health problems. The water is not safe to drink. You cannot boil to remove this type of contaminant. And the communities out there are really looking for the state to step up and make sure that this, A, can be remediated in their area, and B, does not happen to other areas of the state. We have 2 other groundwater management areas in Oregon, and I happen to live in one of them. FOF is headquartered in Junction City. That's where our PO box is. We are a remote organization. We have staff all over the state, but I live in Junction City and I'm the keeper of the PO box. So our official address is here. And I drink well water in the South Willamette Valley groundwater management area every day. And that means that I participate in OSU's free nitrate testing on every 2 months-ish to make sure that my nitrate levels are not creeping up into dangerous levels. They are not the best level, but they are in like the low level unhealthy. So this is something that's very near and dear to my heart as a person who lives in a groundwater management area. And there are lots and lots of groundwater, critical and classified groundwater areas around the state, including many classified groundwater areas in the North Willamette Valley. And the difference here is that groundwater management areas are a water quality designation, and classified and critical groundwater areas are a water quantity designation. But we know that as water becomes less plentiful, pollution can be concentrated in the water we have left. So the solution to pollution is dilution. But in areas where water is becoming less plentiful, this becomes a bigger issue. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything in our power, and that we, as the ag industry, are stepping up to answer the call and make sure that we are keeping our own communities safe by taking advantage of all the resources that ODA has to offer. So this bill, by requiring this reporting for farms over 200 acres of irrigated ground, it's not an enforcement bill. What it states in the text of 747 is that this information can be used for ODA to direct outreach and education toward these folks. There's no penalties for the amount or type of a fertilizer that you're using. It's not telling you exactly what you need to be doing, but you are required to report so that ODA can direct you to technical assistance resources and help you make a plan to possibly reduce your inputs, which costs the farmer less, and make sure that we are not becoming a source of pollution in our own communities. So we are very much in support of SB 747, and we'll be speaking at the hearing tomorrow at 1 p.m. in the Senate Natural Resources Committee. We are also participating in a working group that the legislature is convening for HB 2548. This is a bill that was brought forward by our friends at PCUN, the farm worker union here in Oregon, and it is a farm worker standards board. So this is a labor standards board for the agricultural industry, which will include farm workers, farm owners, representatives from industry, representatives from labor, representatives from public health organizations, to try to have a more concerted effort to develop policy with all of these important stakeholders included, instead of relying on one-off bills brought to the legislature to change standards around farm labor. So this would convene a standards board that would be housed, I believe, at the Bureau of Labor and Industry. I need to double check that, but they also would be, bringing these people together on a regular basis to keep those conversations going so that we can do the best for our farm viability, as well as for the health and safety of our farm workers here in Oregon. So there is a work group convening there at the legislature that we're excited to be a part of to move that conversation forward. And hopefully the working group will result in a hearing for that bill later on down the line. So that's coming up this week. And so here's what you can do right now. So disaster resilience grant funds. We are going to be having this hearing on Wednesday the 5th, so 2 days from now. Testimony is open right now. So we're only given about 10 minutes for this bill, and we've been working with the co-chairs of the committee to identify a list of speakers representing each grant program and a grant recipient from each of those. FOV is not even speaking at this hearing. We're just helping coordinate in the background to help make sure everybody knows, about this important program. And so it's going to be a really tight hearing, and I don't want folks to waste their time waiting in line if they get cut off for oral testimony, but we really, really need to build a robust record of written testimony on this bill, because this is a bill that will have a larger fiscal. I believe that the total fiscal of this bill, with all of the different programs encapsulated, is about 7 million. I could be wrong about that. I need to do the math again. It's 3.5 for the farmer rancher bill, 2 million for food hubs, and 2.5. So that's 8 million. My bad. 8 million for this grant fund total. And it's a pretty competitive funding landscape out there. So we are really, really interested in bringing our community out in written testimony and in our sign-on letter. We're so excited. Our sign-on letter has over 200 farm and food business signatures right now. Be sure to add your name. There's going to be an email in your inbox at 1 p.m. with all of the information about this. But we have until the 7th, so Friday at 8 a.m. to submit our written testimony on this bill. So get ready. We have templates, we've got talking points, we've got all the information that you need. Look out for that email at 1 p.m. We also want folks to submit written testimony on SB 747, this groundwater fertilizer reporting for groundwater in groundwater management areas. So this is a really important bill, and we really want to make sure that they hear that this is something that the community supports, because we know that conventional ag is already organizing against this bill and saying that the reporting burden is too high and that this is unreasonable, although all you need to do once a year is submit a form. And if you have more than 200 acres of irrigated farmland and you're not already writing down how much fertilizer and when you're applying it, that's a problem. So we think that this is a reasonable reporting burden, that folks are already aware of this for their own farms. And as long as ODA does a good job in designing the reporting process and making it easy on the user, this shouldn't be a big barrier. So this hearing is happening tomorrow at 1 p.m. Written testimony is being accepted right now. This will also be in that follow-up email at 1 today. Please do consider putting yourself on the record and supporting this. More information to direct that technical assistance is crucial to making sure that we're not only not making things worse, but we are stopping bad water quality situations before they happen. So please do support SB 747 and submit testimony. The deadline for that is Thursday, the 6th at 1 p.m. So do it as soon as you can, because that hearing is tomorrow. So we have 2 upcoming events. If you are registered for the Small Farms Conference, which is at OSU in Corvallis on Saturday, February 15th, we are going to be having a panel with some other folks in the community food system world who work on legislative issues. There will be a panel in the 3rd session slot about what's going on at the legislature. You'll hear from us, you'll hear from folks who work on land use issues, who work on conservation funding issues, all of that kind of thing. If you're curious or want to ask more questions about what's going on in the broader world, please do prioritize that at the Small Farms Conference if you are going. You can also visit us at our table, our FOF vendor table in the big hall area at the Small Farms Conference. And probably the most important thing that you can do is put March 4th on your calendar to join us for our Small Farms Mean Business Rally Day. This is going to be a wonderful, wonderful event. We're so excited to return to the Capitol for an in-person rally day where we will be bringing farmers from across the state into community together. We'll give you some trainings. We'll have a march from our training space at the Reed Ballroom in Salem, about a 20-minute walk to the Capitol, and we'll have a march of small farms from our event space to the Capitol, and then we will be making legislator meetings, so you'll be able to talk one-on-one to your legislator about these issues and more at the March 4th Small Farms Mean Business Rally Day. That registration is going to be in that email at 1 o'clock, and Brittany can also put it in the chat for us, but that is the most important thing you can do this session, and showing up in person on that day. If transportation is a barrier, we would love to help you solve that. We would love to help you coordinate carpooling, help you get some people in your community together and get a van or something like that. Let us know how we can help to make you be able to attend on March 4th with us and really show the Oregon legislature that small farms mean business. All right, so that is all the updates that I have for you right now. And let's turn off the recording. How do